Welcome to Community Church Unitarian Universalist. I'm your worship associate, Jim O'Neill, and it's a delight to be with you today. For those new to our community, we are a progressive, open-minded, and inclusive religious community. We welcome all who are on a search for spiritual truth and meaning. Ours is also a faith in action as we do the work of social justice and elevate compassion in our quest to live ethically, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every being. Please look to your weekly email for announcements. We have two announcements today, one from Kathy and one from Deborah, please.
Good morning. Immediately after service, or maybe you can go and get a drink or something and come back, we have a financial literacy class today. It's being presented by the Laura Wagaspack, who's the manager of the Regions Bank nearby. And she just wants to provide education. Everyone is invited. And I hope that at least some of you will stay.
Good morning. So this past Friday in my president's letter, I wrote about the status of the minister search, and I'm not going to go through all the details now. I just want to say that we did try to get a minister, but I think that we got caught up in something that the whole UUA, as it turns out, was kind of experiencing this last year, that many candidates now are not as willing to move as they're not as mobile as they used to be with moving across country. And so it wasn't just us having that type of issue this past year. They said it was kind of an unusual year for the search, and there were several ministers who didn't end up matching up. And so we're going to go back in the search in this fall. We were encouraged to do so. I have other details that I can share with you. I shared some in the letter and have other things. If you have questions after the service, I'll be at the coffee hour, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Deborah. We're delighted to welcome back to our pulpits someone who actually needs no introduction. Reverend Jacqueline Luck is not only a member of our community, but she is a retired Unitarian Universalist minister, and so it's with great pleasure we welcome her back to the pulpit today. She will lead us in our call to worship.
This is a prayer from the Ojibwe Indians in North America. It's in the back of our hymnal. I looked for a more original version, but couldn't find it. So if you want to follow along, it's 518, but you need not. Grandfather, look at our brokenness. We know that in all creation, only the human family has strayed from the sacred way. We know that we are the ones who are divided, and we are the ones who must come back together to walk in the sacred way. Grandfather, Sacred One, teach us love, compassion, and honor. Spirit of the East, be with us always. Spirit of the South, be with us always. Spirit of the West, be with us always. Spirit of the North, be with us always, that we may heal the earth and heal each other.
It is our ritual to light a chalice invoking hope and eternal truth to our worship. Please join us in singing the words of chalice lighting. We light this flame. They're printed in your order of service. Light this flame to affirm the light of truth and justice and the love and community and the fire of hope and commitment. And now our religious educator, Cynthia Ramirez, will share her words for all ages.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Dia de los Muertos, and welcome the beloved souls today. They are among us. And don't forget to come to the Day of the Dead procession in the Bywater this evening. It starts at 7, but there's a little fiesta from 3 to 6:30 if you would like to come. So this reading is from the North American Arctic, the Central, hope I'm saying it right, Yupik Eskimos. 500 years before the first outsiders came to central Alaska, there lived a powerful Yupik warrior named Apanukpak. He was renowned by the Yupik people for his skill with the harpoon and bow and arrow. It was a time of great madness and terror among the Yupik. Warring groups attacked each other across the tundra. People lived in fear within their subterranean sod houses, unable to safely fight fires or to cook food. Each band of warriors had a smeller who traveled with them. The smellers had such keen noses, they could sense even one particle of smoke in the pristine air and of the cold tundra and direct the warriors to the source of that fire. The people were cold, hungry, and afraid. It came to pass that one day Apanakpak had a vision. In the vision, he saw houses of villages everywhere vanishing into the sky as curling wisps of black smoke. He saw a crimson lake of blood made from the dripping wounds of the slain warriors. As he gazed at these strange sights, Apanakpak, the bravest of the warriors, was struck with terror. He trembled as he watched the ghosts of the dead warriors slowly rise up to do battle with the living. At that moment, Apanakpak knew that war was futile. No side could win, for as the warriors killed more and more people, the vast army of ghosts would continue to increase. Like memories of horror driving people to revenge, the ghosts of war would vanquish the living and cause great suffering to continue endlessly. Apanakpak knew then that war must end. He was the most respected of all the fierce warriors. People were surprised when he held up his harpoon and his bow and arrow and said, "These things were created to help us hunt food, not to cause death to each other. I will not use these tools to fight people anymore." When Apanakpak, the greatest warrior, put down his weapons, all the others followed. The time of madness was over. The killing was finished. Discord between people found a different expression. People created new kinds of contests. Instead of killing each other in battle, Warring bands began to compete energetically with each other in singing contests, dancing contests, and insulting contests. Colorful gatherings and rich in music, movement, and pointed, clever words settled disputes. Peace prevailed, and people were able to light their hearth fires again. The sweet smell of savory food cooking in the subterranean homes signaled the return to sanity to the land of ice and cold. The end. Would you like to sing this kids out for Ari? Thanks.
Everywhere, everywhere you may go. Our reading is from the book The Power of Myth from Joseph Campbell with Bill Moyers. And in it, he quotes a letter from Chief Seattle, approximately 1852. I brought along this sculpture, which might help you imagine Chief Seattle. He's responding to a letter from the United States government inquiring about buying the tribal lands for the arriving people of the United States. And this was Chief Seattle's reply. The president in Washington sends word that he wishes to buy our land. But how can you buy or sell the sky, the land? The idea is strange to us. If we do not own the freshness of the air and the sparkle of the water, how can you buy them? Every part of this earth is sacred to my people. Every shining pine needle, every sandy shore, every mist in the dark woods, every meadow, every humming insect, all are holy in the memory and experience of my people. We know the sap which courses through the trees as we know the blood that courses through our veins. We are part of the earth, and it is part of us. The perfumed flowers are our sisters, the bear, the deer, the great eagle, these are our brothers. The rocky cress, the juices in the meadow, the body-heated pony, and man all belong to the same family. The shining water that moves in the streams and rivers is not just water, but the blood of our ancestors. If we sell you our land, you must remember that it is sacred. Each ghostly reflection in the clear waters of the lakes tells of events and memories in the life of my people. The water's murmur is the voice of my father's father. The rivers are our brothers and sisters. They quench our thirst. They carry our canoes and feed our children. So you must give to the rivers the kindness you would give any brother or sister. If we sell you our land, remember that the air is precious to us, that the air shares its spirit with all the life it supports. The wind that gave our grandfathers his first breath also receives his last sigh. The wind also gives our children the spirit of life. So if we sell you our land, you must keep it apart and sacred as a place where man can go to taste the wind that is sweetened by the meadow flowers. Will you teach your children what we have taught our children? That the earth is our mother, what befalls the earth befalls all the sons of the earth. This we know, the earth does not belong to man. Man belongs to the earth. All things are connected like the blood that unites us all. Man did not weave the web of life. He is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. Your destiny is a mystery to us. What will happen when the buffalo are all slaughtered, the wild horses tamed? What will happen when the secret corners of the forest are heavy with the scent of many men, and the view of the ripe hills is blotted by talking wires? Where will the thicket be? Gone. Where will the eagle be? Gone. And what is it to say goodbye to the swift pony and the hunt? The end of living and the beginning of survival. We love this earth as a newborn loves its mother's heartbeat. So if we sell you our land, love it as we have loved it. Care for it as we have cared for it. Hold it in your mind, the memory of the land as it is when you receive it. Preserve the land for all children and love it as God loves us all. Now is our time of sacred joys and sorrows. If you're online, you may write your joys and sorrows in the comments section to be read aloud. In person, you may write them on one of the cards being passed out by our greeters. And as we honor All Souls Day today, I invite you, if there is a beloved member of your family or someone that you want to mention as a sorrow, please write that on your card and we will collect them. And also, as we're doing that, Alicia has a message for us about a member of our community.
So I'm afraid I have some sad news to share, which is a friend of our community and former member, Dion Zavell, is now in hospice care. She is at home, and Caitlin is taking care of her. Caitlin says she's not up for visitors right now, but that might change. And I've asked her to just let us know if there's anything that she needs from our community, any way that we can help support both of them as they go through this. I know that she's still on Facebook and on email, so if you feel so moved to contact Dion and let her know that we are thinking of her. Thank you.
Please join in our song number 119, Once to Every Soul and Nation. From Robert, for my brother, my nephews, and my cousin, who are now this year among all souls. William A. Eastridge, who died March 2025. From Abigail, a joy that I have is that my mother got out of an abusive relationship and is detoxing off opiates. A sorrow of mine is that a friend of mine is actively suicidal. And I ask we light a candle for my beloved wife, Vera, who died in April of this year. And now we'll light 2 more candles, one for the joys that are in our hearts but have not found words to express, and one for the sorrows that we carry, perhaps too painful to share at this moment. We will now take a moment of silence.
Heavy energy this morning of great sadness. Dion, if you're listening, we love you and we miss you. That was to a camera. To shift the energy a little, I'd invite you to turn to the back of the order of service, and let's read the land acknowledgement as you please. We haven't done this in a while, and I think this Sunday may be the perfect one. If you'd read with me. We acknowledge and pay tribute to the original inhabitants of this land. The city of New Orleans is a continuation of an indigenous trade hub on the Mississippi River, known for thousands of years as Bulbancha. Tribes that have lived on this land include the Caddo, the Natchez, the Choctaw, the Chitimacha, the Huma, the Tunica, the Biloxi, the Atak, Ishot, among others. We recognize that as a result of broken treaties and involuntary removals, Native Americans were often forced from their lands. We remember and pay respect to the communities impacted by these actions. Native peoples have lived on this land since time immemorial, and the resilient voices of Native Americans remain an inseparable part of our food. With gratitude and honor, we acknowledge the indigenous nations that have lived and continue right here. After the intolerable acts of Britain's Parliament in 1774, colonial Englishmen formed the Continental Congress and issued the Declaration of Independence. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. I'm going to read some of them, and I suggest that we listen with new ears this morning to these very familiar words. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. The first stated cause is framed in these immortal words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. These immortal words are followed by 27 other grievances that the colonists listed against King George III. I left out 10 of these grievances, but I did not add or alter any of the 17 grievances that I list now. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither and raise the condition of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat our substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislators. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble of terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which might define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of free people. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states. They are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown. And therein, 56 men signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776, knowing that they might die for high treason. Ned Blackhawk has an article in the issue of the most recent issue of the Atlantic magazine, in the most recent issue of the Atlantic magazine, titled "The Unfinished Revolution." In that article, which is titled "The 27th Grievance," he opened my eyes to new truth about the Declaration of Independence and our founding. I will rely heavily on Blackhawk's words, as he is a Yale professor and, as you might guess, an American Indian. He knows much more than I do about this subject. But I want to pass his message along, as we often focus on the relationship between the American Indians and the English colonists in November celebrations of Thanksgiving. I plan to read his book, The Rediscovery of America, as soon as possible. I offer these words to widen our understandings of the history of our nation and how tightly bound it is with racism from its inception. I did not list the 27th grievance in my list, but offer it now in Professor Ned Blackhawk's words for the most part. The Declaration of Independence is venerated for its poetic language and universalist prologue with the soaring self-evident truth that all men have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But less famously, the Declaration is also a set, But less famously, the Declaration is also a set of specific grievances, 27 in total, building to a defining final charge against the crown, the English crown. The King of England has attempted to afflict frontiersmen with merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. The King of England, I'm repeating myself, has attempted to afflict frontiersmen with merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. The most famous text of the Revolution culminates not with an idealistic wish, but with a derogatory indictment that is legal as well as moral. The drafters drew upon new doctrines of international law and made England's incitement of savages the ultimate unjust act against a free and independent people. In this so-called age of reason, Native Americans were charged with having no reason. They were not only lawless, but also irrational, incapable of self-governance, and lacking moral capacity. This one-dimensional vision of Native Americans was new, writes Blackhawk. The colonists had ample evidence that Native Americans were capable of self-government, having lived alongside the Native communities for generations during war, peace, and constant trade. Native people maintained distinct customs, laws, and forms of sovereignty, many of them in defiance of both British and colonial authorities. Long before the arrivals of Europeans, the nations of the Iroquois Confederacy centralized political, military, and diplomatic practices. Throughout the 1740s and 50s, Benjamin Franklin commented on the durable forms of union exercised by the Iroquois, whose confederacy, as he wrote, has subsisted ages and appears indissoluble. In fact, Native self-government was so evident and persistent that it became a source of colonial frustration. Pamphleteers often decried the Crown's diplomacy with Native nations, as well as its inability to control them. The Crown had diplomacy with the Native Americans, but not so much with the colonists. Across the colonies, and particularly beyond the Appalachians, Native independence was seen as a threat to colonists. Those colonists had begun to envision their own claims for lands as necessary to their independence and sovereignty. The colonists sought not just territory, but unchallenged dominion. It was precisely because Native societies mirrored some of the colonists' own ideals: autonomy, law, liberty, that they had to be cast as savages. By 1776, American colonists had positioned Native peoples and their resistance to conquest as the antithesis of their own vision of an enlightened colonial society. The founding documents of the United States may have been modeled on the Enlightenment philosophy, as was our religion. And if you'll notice as I go forward, many of our values are implied by what we're speaking of here and our principles. But they were also informed, our original documents were also informed by the conflict between the settlers, the Native nations, and the Crown of England. Understanding this history is not a matter of diminishing the Revolution's accomplishments, please don't hear me doing that, but of recognizing the contested ground from which they arose, and the natives' lives, lands, and liberties they attempted to foreclose. The origins of the American Revolution stretch back further than the poetics of the Declaration of 1776. The year 1763 stands out because of the momentous Treaty of Paris, which transferred most of New France to the English, more than doubling the Crown's claims to North America. After that, a person could travel from the Florida Panhandle to Hudson's Bay and remain within the realm of claimed land by King George III. The Crown and its colonists claimed all lands east of the Mississippi River, despite knowing that native peoples governed much of this territory. The treaty would eventually inform the territorial boundaries of the United States, but native dominion remained even as land transferred between European countries. And this is really pretty absent from most of our textbooks. In the summer of 1763, the Great Lakes region exploded when indigenous villagers under the Ottawa leader, Pontiac, destroyed a series of English forts. Pontiac, born around 1720, had experienced the withdrawal of the French trade and authority and now rallied other native villagers to fill the power vacuum. This native resistance compelled British officials to the bargaining table. Trade would eventually resume. Pontiac caused this to happen. And the Crown faithfully altered its own laws to accommodate native resistance. In October, a royal proclamation prohibited colonial settlements past the Appalachians. Natives with whom we are connected, this is a quote, natives with whom we are connected and who live under our protection should not be molested or disturbed, King George declared. Who knew? Not me. Early in the Revolutionary era, then, recognition of native sovereignty both shaped the laws of the Crown and limited the prospects of its colonial subjects, kindling the eventual rebellion against England's king. Rather than accept new English prohibitions and the Crown's growing diplomacy with Pontiac, colonists formed new resentments, which then sprung new ideas, politics, and militancy. While colonists viewed indigenous people as savage and inferior, they also recognized, and some of them envied, their different forms of government and social organization. Across the Pennsylvania colony, men formed militia units. The frontiersman James Smith and his Black Boys militia donned he is a white colonist, let me just make that clear. And his Black Boys militia donned native dress, darkened their faces, for concealment, and attacked supply trains from the Crown destined to Pontiac's forces, to the Native American forces. I had no idea the Crown had that kind of relationship with the Native Americans. In December, another militia unit known as the Paxton Boys massacred a Conestoga community in Lancaster County for allegedly ferrying information and supplies to Pontiac's warriors. The Conestoga spoke Iroquois and lived in the Susquehanna River Valley of Pennsylvania. So this is whites dressed up as Native Americans, massacring Native Americans. Benjamin Franklin, then a member of the Pennsylvania Provincial Assembly, published a pamphlet condemning the attack as lawless and immoral In his description of the event, white people were the barbarians guilty of wickedness, while natives had historically demonstrated kindness and hospitality. The Paxton Boys, Franklin said, had brutalized the innocent Conestoga out of pure racism. The only crime of these poor wretches seems to have been that they had reddish-brown skin, Franklin wrote. Prior to the 7 Years' War, which began in the 1750s, mid-1750s, and involved conflict with France, Great Britain, and native tribes, the term white people had rarely been used. It had appeared a little more than once a year in colonial newspapers. And during the war, however, there was more than tenfold increase in newspapers' use of the term white people. In 1757, George Washington, then an officer for Britain, wrote to a fellow colonel about a Cherokee conspiracy to attack. Traitors and white people, he wrote. A native white colonists found yet another group to define themselves against those Native Americans. And the term white people apparently originates at this point in our history. When James Smith defended his malicious violence, he framed British treaties with native nations as alliances with enemies of mankind. Those are the Native Americans. In doing so, he revealed the new ethos of the era. In print, spoken verse, and everyday conversation, white people became synonymous with mankind, a notion not universal, as the Declaration would have one believe, but obviously exclusionary. This racial logic was embedded in the founding documents of the United States. In 1776, this same violent James Smith represented interior interests at Pennsylvania's Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, helping to draft the state's first constitution. The document, in its opening paragraph, scolded the king for employing savages and slaves in a cruel and unjust war against the Commonwealth, an echo of the final grievance of the Declaration of Independence, adopted mere steps away 12 weeks earlier. The founding documents thus served a dual purpose: to oppose tyranny and savagery. Colonists saw themselves besieged by oppressive monarch abroad and violent savages on their frontiers. In essence, their revolution was not only for liberty, but also for the ability to expand, to govern the lands and resources of native lands, lands they felt they and the crown had won on the battlefield, and they would soon win by rejecting the crown and declaring sovereignty. This revolution was not, however, a contest between order, reason, and savagery. It was a contest between competing visions of governance and law, between colonial sovereignty and sovereign traditions of native nations. The Declaration of Independence opened the world to democratic possibility, sparking a wave of revolutions, yet it also marked the narrowing of political possibilities with the young United States. The very document that proclaimed a new kind of liberty also stifled other kinds of government, particularly those practiced by native nations. They became outsiders to the new American body politic. Much of American history has involved efforts to impose constrained visions of liberty, rooted in individualism, private property, patriarchal norms on native peoples. Societies like the settled colonies in 1776 are legible to a state. In contrast, indigenous communities exist outside that frame with fluid, seasonal, and relational systems of economic and politics that remain hard to regulate and control. Studying the contradictions of the revolution disrupts our myth of a singular founding moment and reveals a contested process. Reckoning with this complex legacy requires a reframing of American independence, nationhood, and self-evident truth that all men are created equal. Perhaps, and lastly, perhaps upon our 250th anniversary, we, the people of the United States, can envision the Declaration as one of interdependence, expansive enough to confront its own contradictions and inclusive enough to honor the sovereignties it sought to erase. May it be so. Amen.
Community Church Unitarian Universalist is a self-sustaining congregation. Members and friends, generosity help us do the sacred work of bringing justice, spirituality, and compassion to our community and beyond. You can give online, by text, or in person this morning. See the information on the back of your order of service for giving by text. Our offertory hymn is number 85, Although This Life is But a Wraith.
Our benediction this morning are the words of Thomas Wolfe, an early 20th century American novelist. And take hope in these, I hope. I believe that we are lost here in America, the novelist Thomas Wolfe wrote, but I believe we shall be found. I think the true discovery of America is before us. I think that the true fulfillment of our spirit, of our people, of our might, and immortal land is yet to come. I think the true discovery of our own democracy is before us.
Please join in our closing hymn, number 1069, Ancient Mother, in the Teal Hymnal, number 1069. I hear you calling, ancient mother, I hear your song, ancient mother, I feel your laughter, ancient mother, I taste your tears, ancient mother, I hear you calling, ancient mother, I hear your song, ancient mother, I feel your laughter, ancient mother, I taste your tears, ancient mother, I hear you calling, ancient mother, I hear your song, ancient mother, I feel your laughter, ancient mother, I taste your tears. Please join me now as we extinguish our chalice, the words in your order of service. We extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again. Please join us afterwards for refreshment and conversation in the fellowship hall.
I'm sorry to have read so much.